Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other, and today's episode is Death Note Part 2, Episode 28, Impatience. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in this episode. So after the last episode where Sayu is kidnapped, Nier and Light end the call with Nier allowing Light to handle the situation with Sayu. They then make a plan to all go to Los Angeles, taking separate flights. Aizawa follows Soichiro to his flight. However, Soichiro on the way is intercepted by one of Mello's men, who then veers him over to a different flight, which is also scheduled to go to Los Angeles. However, it ends up that the pilot was being controlled by the organization Mello's in and stole the plane to give it a brief detour to drop Soichiro off before returning to its actual flight path. And Soichiro is dropped in the desert, which he is followed to by satellite by Nier. However, once he gets there, there's an underground bunker. He is led down into the underground bunker. And then he does go through with exchanging the notebook for Sayu. The notebook is then attached to a missile that is untrackable and launched into the air. And once it is received by Mello, he then goes ahead and kills most of the SPK, minus it looks like only like 2 people survive, plus Nier survives. And then Nier gives Light additional information stating that now that the notebook is in his hands, he suspects that it's a man who goes by the name of Mello, who was at Whammy's house with him, which Light recognizes as the institution run by Watari. And he basically says that they should exchange information and tell each other what they know now that Mello has the notebook and has killed most of this SPK. We then see a little brief glimpse into the Shinigami realm, which we honestly haven't seen for a while, and we see 2 Shinigami talking, one of whom is Saito, who basically was the original owner of the notebook that Ryuk dropped into the human world, and he wants it back, so he decides he's going to have to go to the human world, and that is where this episode ends. So now that we've briefly recapped the episode, it is now time to rank the episode. And as always, we'll be ranking first on our mostly objective ranking, followed by then the personal ranking. So you might have noticed how brief the summary was, and that is because for a 20-minute episode, very little happened, but what did happen was absolutely horrific. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And we'll start with the supporting arc character introduction, which was Saito, the new Shinigami that we're being introduced to. And he's worth 1 point. Then we have our single arc main character development, which is of course that Mello gets the notebook and kills Nier's SPK members. That's the positives. It was 3 points. And now we have the negatives. First negative was the character regression, and this is Light. One of the reasons, like I mentioned in the last episode, I never really rewatch part 2 because I just generally don't enjoy it. And one of the reasons for that is that in the first part, Light's younger, less experienced, and is able to go head to head with a very experienced, very intelligent L and win. And then this episode, or this part, we're 2 episodes in, and Light has done absolutely nothing, used 0 intelligence, allowed the unthinkable to occur under his watch, and been absolutely helpless to stop it, which is not what he was established as a character. in the part one, he always had plans. He had plans on plans, and even though some of his plans were stupid, and I did point it out when I thought they were stupid back when we were doing each of the episodes, he did always have a plan, a goal, contingencies, etc. And somehow, all of a sudden, his character's completely regressed. All of that's gone. And it's not regressed like he has no memories of the notebook and therefore can't remember his plans. It's literally he has all of his memories and he just, for whatever reason, did not make any plans, did not put in any contingencies, did not consider any possibilities. And I know he thought he was in the clear with Elgon, but, you know, there's always going to be someone trying to stop him, whether it's Elle or anybody else. And the fact that he genuinely seems to have fallen into the trap of thinking Elle was the only person who was going to ever try to stop him. And so once Elle was gone, completely let down his guard and allowed something like this to happen is absurd and, in my opinion, very careless and not in the nature of Light as Kira. Therefore, character regression big time. And then, of course, we cannot ignore what happened, which is worth -2 points, the negative messaging or behavior of the fact that he actually went through with giving a notebook that can kill hundreds of thousands of millions of people to a criminal organization that's going to have no problem using it for one singular person. I don't care that that person was close to him. You can't do that. You know, that's like someone saying, oh, they've held my daughter hostage. I'm just going to push this big red button and send all the nukes in the world to kill everybody. That's essentially what he's just done. It's unforgivable. It is not a good look for the character. It is not a good look for the show. It is not a good look for Kira. It is not a good look for anybody that they allowed one insignificant character to literally put every single person in the world in danger, because unlike Kira, who is just going after those who are morally bankrupt, they have given it to said morally bankrupt people who very much will probably use it on anybody and everybody just on a whim because they can, because they are an evil criminal organization. Absolutely horrific with absolute horrific consequences, and I don't remember because I don't rewatch this part very often, actually ever, to be honest. I saw it once when it was originally airing, never really rewatched it, always stopped when Elle died because that was epic and I enjoyed up to that point. But I don't know if they actually take it as far as they should, or because they want to try to save the characters' reputations who made this horrible, horrible, horrible decision, they don't let it go that far. But either way, the fact that that was the possibility of how far it could go makes it incredibly negative. And honestly, if I wasn't very strict with the mostly objective rank values, I would have given even more minus points than -2. But either way, it doesn't matter because there's +3, there's -3. This episode's a 0, but unfortunately, the lowest score we actually can give is 1. So it will be a 1 out of 10 episode, rightfully so. And that, of course, brings the part 2 ranking so far to in first abduction and second impatience. So my personal ranking, I think you already know. I went on a bit of a rant on the mostly objective ranking, but all of those are my true beliefs. I do not think that one person's life, especially an insignificant character who's not even contributing to society at this point, and probably will never contribute enough to make up for all of the deaths that they are going to cause, was worth potentially everybody's life because it is a criminal organization that they have given the power to kill literally anybody to. And that is horrific. Absolutely terrible. The worst thing they could have done. A decision that literally made me want to stop watching. And is the reason I have never really rewatched part 2. Well, that's not the sole reason. The other reason is that the heirs, while interesting, can never live up to Elle. I mean, like, I like Mello's character design, even though he is terrible, and I do empathize with his chocolate addiction because I too really love chocolate. But again, he's terrible, terrible character. It's fiction though, so you can forgive the terribleness to a certain degree. I also like Nier. I like his character design. I do think that it's fun that he plays with games, but again, they're just not L, and I have no attachment to them whatsoever. And I don't like part two because I know how it ends, and it starts this terribly. Like, what motivation outside of doing a series like I'm doing on this channel would I ever possibly have to continue watching after a decision like that was made so easily, with so little effort, with so little consideration, with so little good storytelling involved or drama at all? Like, it's just crap. So I did not like it. 1 out of 10, totally agreeing with the objective score. And like I said, if I could give a lower score, I would, but I cannot because rules are rules. 1 out of 10 brings part 2 ranking so far to in first abduction and second impatience. So that brings us to the series ranking so far. And we have our mostly objective side where part 1 ended with a total score of 70.77%. And part 2, after 2 episodes, has a score of 4 out of 110. On the personal side, part 1 did end with a score of 60.38%, but part 2 has a score so far of 5 out of 110. And I don't have enough memory of it because I only ever watched it once when it aired to say if it'll get better. But we'll just have to hold on and see if it does. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Death Note Part 2, Episode 28, Impatience. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.